How long have we been on this rock? Help me to recollect. Who are you again, Tommy?
Once, the Green Goblin and Batman were trapped in a black and white Lighthouse horror film by A24, written and directed by the guy who made a horror movie about a witch. And somehow, even though it came out before the pandemic started, it accurately depicts the descent into madness we all suffered from during the lockdowns. The Lighthouse was written and directed by the new king of period piece movies, Robert Eggers. I had to record that line 3 different times because I kept saying Robert Eggers. If you don't know what edging is, just become a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, The One Piece, or wait for a live-action adaptation of God Emperor of Dune.
I want to be free of this pain.
The first film I ever saw of Robert Eggers was The Witch, a period piece film following a girl who looks like she could play a young Galadriel. I'm sorry, Token, I am shit at enunciation. Don't at me, bro. At least I'm not Rings of Power. And her family, as they are terrorized by a supposed witch who lives in the woods. And despite the witch being what the main horror people would expect, and don't get me wrong, she is creepy as shit, the real horror of the witch comes from a sense of loneliness, isolation, delusion, paranoia, and eventual hopelessness that spreads throughout the entire family. Now, take all of that, give it some steroids, subtract Black Phillip, you'll understand if you watch the film, and that is The Lighthouse. Also some Robert Pattinson masturbation. I'm telling you right now, this is a weird movie. This is your chance to jump off or stay on the ship because it's just gonna get weirder than this. The Lighthouse is that moonshine portal into madness that would have made that salty racist bitch H.P. Lovecraft smile. Robert Pattinson's Winslow and William Defrent's Wake played 2 lighthouse keepers in New England in the 1890s. God damn, this man hates New England more than I hate New Jersey, and I really hate New Jersey.
Everything is legal in New Jersey.
Winslow is a young drifter who's come to the lighthouse in hopes of starting fresh and doing things by the book, while Wake is an unforgiving old sailor who's set in his ways and makes sure Winslow knows that. Wake is demanding, abrasive, and never misses an opportunity to berate and demean Winslow every chance he gets. He's basically like Harrison Ford or Ridley Scott these days. He's fuck you old and he's proud of it. Winslow is essentially the opposite. He's quiet, reserved, and doesn't seem to like to share anything about who he is as a person now or who he was beforehand. Despite the growing animosity that leads to them butting heads, Winslow and Wake actually form a bond of sorts in the endless isolation of working on the lighthouse. Despite their differences, it seems like the pair will part on good terms. And for me, this is particularly one of the most endearing parts of the film. It's the calm before the narrative and literal storm of the movie. Beneath Winslow's closed-off nature and Wake's hard-ass treatment of him, both are just 2 men looking for companionship in this miserable ordeal they're going through. Both men are not just alone in the lighthouse, they are alone in life. Winslow because he's a drifter who's constantly restarting his life to find a place where he belongs, and Wake whose life and actions are implied to have driven the people in his life away from him. And as fun and insane as Robert and William get in this film, and trust me, they get batshit insane, there's something to be admired about how both play the softer side of their characters. How Winslow finally lets his walls fall and reveals his frustration, not just with the lighthouse, but his life, why he is the way he is and what he wants out of life. And for someone like Wake, who never seemed to care about oversharing, seeing how tender and affectionate he can actually be with Winslow, even speaking highly of him, was different to see. At the end of the day, Winslow does want someone to think he's worth something, anything, and Wake doesn't just want something to care about, he wants someone to care about him. TV Tropes defines this moment as the hope spot, where everything looks like things could turn out alright, and for a moment, it really does look like everything is going to be okay. That is until a terrible storm that may or may not have been caused by the death of a one-eyed seagull, it makes sense in context, leads to the men being trapped on the island for longer than expected. We don't really know how long they've been there, the film doesn't tell us. It's actually a giant plot point and the mindfuckery that the film does to you. As rations and supplies run low, so does the grip both men have on reality as their sanities start to slip away from them. It's at this point the slow burn of the lighthouse finally starts to kick into a flame. Yet, it's hard to know where we actually are anymore. The characters descend into madness, drinking, both wanting nothing to do with the other, yet having no one else at the same time, due to not just their own circumstances on the lighthouse, but who they are as people. And as time goes on, who they actually are eventually comes out. But there's no definitive way to know what the characters are seeing or saying is even true. Both characters at this point are unreliable narrators. They're pissed drunk. They're losing their mind. Is Wake lying about what is going on? Is Winslow even understanding what's going on? And then you have all the weird stuff, weirder stuff. We have a mermaid, maybe. We have a merman, Defoe, and a lighthouse that will either make you sexually aroused with tentacles or go goblin mode. What is or isn't real is lost. Even Wake eventually points that out. Wake and Winslow lay everything out to the other, and we don't even know which one of them is right because they have become so lost in their own minds, which makes their final falling out almost tragic. When Winslow finally kills Wake, there's no feeling of triumph or relief. It's just emptiness. His ascension to finally see what's in the lighthouse feels like every step is taking him closer to his end. There are no more barriers between him and the unknown. So when Winslow finally reaches the top, sees the light and the truth of what's behind it, what we see is... Whatever Winslow sees finally breaks him, and his descent is complete. When we next see him, he's lying naked, birds eating him alive, fully aware of what's going on, but unable to stop it. Whatever is left of his life, this is all it will ever be. The film ends with no clear answer as to what was real, what was supernatural, what was drunken insanity, or if anything we even saw before the last shot even happened, or even if the last shot was real. The Lighthouse is not a film for everyone. It's a film that challenges your patience and sense of imagination. For some, there will be a discussion on what was really happening, who was right, Wake or Winslow. But what stuck with me was how familiar those feelings of loneliness and isolation felt. The desire to start a new life, yet the sins of your past following you. Maybe not physically, but mentally. Those scars still being there, haunting you, even if no one ever knows but you. In the end, the real horror of the Lighthouse is one's own mind. How hopelessness and a yearning for a connection, yet the fear of being vulnerable with other people, can be a worse nightmare than the monsters. As they say, nothing is scarier than our own minds. So what's a worse fate than being a prisoner of our own making, of our own mind? If you're interested in watching a film starring two of the greatest actors of their generation, helmed by one of the most creative and weird directors working today, give The Lighthouse a try. Love or hate it, it'll definitely be an experience you probably won't ever forget anytime soon. Thank you to everyone who made it to the end of this video. Thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters, especially these right here. Molly, M, the Kloei Boy, Lola, and Emily. I thought since all these union strikes were still going on, I would take a crack at talking about some independent films, and A24 has a long list of great films to talk about. I'm planning on finally finishing my videos on Everything Everywhere All at Once, Uncut Gems, The Green Knight, and Moonlight eventually, as well as finally making those gaming and anime videos I've been promising for longer than fans have been waiting for the winds of winter. Thank you for your views, thank you for still being here, and I'll see you for the next video.